Clerk will call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy C. Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Marty Van Ravensway, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation this morning will be delivered by Reverend Nathaniel Davis, the Beach Street Baptist Church. Thank you very much for coming out this morning. And after the invocation, please remain standing for our pledges.
Thank you. Our Heavenly Father, we come before you today with humble hearts and with the knowledge that all life, even that which some may view as inconvenient or unwanted, is a gift from your gracious hand. Your word teaches that all of humanity was created in your image and that you love each individual equally, regardless of age, race, or personal sins. It was because of your great love that you sent your beloved Son to die on Calvary's cross, taking the punishment that we rightly deserve for our sins and giving forgiveness to all who would put their faith and trust in him and accept his sacrifice. In this great act of love, we see your plan for how we should behave towards one another with love, mercy, and selfless sacrifice. And let us each live according to that glorious example given by Jesus. Lord, we ask you today to grant this body the wisdom to govern as good stewards of that which rightly belongs to the people. Lord, let them follow your example of selfless service and keep always in their minds that they have been elected to serve and not to rule. Remind them that they are but managers of the property of the citizens. Let them always seek to do that which best serves the citizens and confirms liberty and justice. Grant them the humility, Father, which is necessary for good and wise leaders. Lead them in every decision so that your will is accomplished. We ask you, Lord, above all, to use this court for your honor and your glory. Bless them with all gifts necessary to serve and lead Tarrant County. Once again, it is with the utmost humility and in deference to your will that we make these requests, and in the name of your blessed Son, whose name is above all other names, before whom every knee will bow and every tongue will confess to the glory of the Father that Jesus Christ is Lord. It is in his name in which we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, Reverend.
Thank you, Reverend. Appreciate you coming out today. Manius, agenda announcements?
Your Honor, we don't have any agenda announcements this morning. We just would ask that there might be a minor shift in the agenda itself, and that we might take the presentation of the 6th Annual Employees Golf Tournament Awards prior to the employee recognition. There are probably a lot of people that are being recognized today that also played in that tournament, and we thought it might be appropriate that we all participate in the recognition.
You bet. Court members, you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of November the 24th.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. As we kind of move into our proclamations and resolutions, oftentimes we will close the court in memory of someone who has passed. Today, I would like for us to close the court in honor of the TCU Horned Frogs and the great year that they did. So if that will be all right with everyone, we'll do that, and hopefully there'll be in a BCS Bowl here before long, and we'll be able to know where we might be able to go and watch them if we wanted to. Okay, as we move into our proclamations and resolutions, as Mr. Manius just indicated, we're going to kind of switch a little bit, and we're going to start off with our presentations, and I think Paul Wood is going to come forward at this time. What looks to be a big cup if he doesn't hit Crystal in the back of the head with it.
She was oblivious.
This is the one that all county golfers are trying to obtain throughout the course of the year. And I think even Commissioner Johnson probably wants his name on this trophy at some point in time. So maybe that will happen.
That happened yet?
Good morning, Judge Commissioners. This morning we have the presentation of the County Cup for the winners of the 6th Annual Tarrant County Employee Golf Tournament. The tournament was held at the golf club at Fossil Creek this year, which is up in the northern part of Fort Worth. This year we had exceeded last year's attendance with 123 golfers on 31 teams. Last year we had 102, and the year before we had 101. So each year the tournament has increased in attendance, which is a good thing because it is all county employees. The weather didn't hold up as well this year. If any of you were around, it did rain quite a bit. About the third hole it started raining, and I think by the end of the tournament everybody was pretty well drenched. But we did complete the tournament, everybody did finish, and I think everybody had an excellent time. Before I get to the winners, I'd like to go ahead and name a few people that donated some cash and prizes. Debbie Snyder from our office always donates some money for the prizes, and we're very thankful for that. Rick Brunson also this year donated some cash, and Doug Black had some prizes that he donated. We'd also like to thank Lily Newfarmer and the credit union. They do a great job with this tournament. They come out every year and help us with the registration. They go around and take pictures of all the golfers and give it to everybody with a little plastic case. And they did it in the rain this year. So we were really happy that they were able to come out and do it. There are 4 ladies that I want to mention specifically that came out and helped this year. Tana Wolf, Christy Fields, Catherine Rotter, and Tanya Elmore, all from the credit union, were out there and helped us. And I'd like to personally thank
I'll stand up.
all of
Okay,
them.
let's one of them over.
They also came up with the cup when we originally did it about a year ago, and as you've had in your court communique, the cup does have all the names on it from all the golfers for the past 5 years, and the 6th year has been added to it. I also want to mention the committee members. We have a committee that we kind of started about 6 years ago. Those members are Mark Mendez, Patricia Ward, Jim Duff, Ray Reich, Steve Sparks, Doug Black, Craig Maxwell, and Brian Kramer. These people help determine where the tournament is going to be held each year, as well as cost, prizes we give away, and the date that it's set on. And also Ann Farmer helps out with coming out and taking pictures, and she helps get all the information out. Okay, there's some other skill prizes that I want to mention real quick. From the women's long drive was Sherry Crass from IT. Men's long drive was Jesse Davenport from the Sheriff's Office. He kind of got that on default. Mr. Townsend actually won that also, but he couldn't get 2 prizes, so he got it closest to the pin, so Mr. Davenport got the
We're
long
going to make
drive.
him play left-handed.
We try to spread it out among everybody. And the 4 closest to the pins awarded were Susan Sprinkle, a retiree, Steve Townsend from Precinct 4, Jason Hewitt from Facilities, and Zach Walters from Precinct 3 Maintenance. They all got the closest to the pin. So now I'd like to go ahead and announce the 2nd place winners of the first flight for the tournament. The 2nd place winners this year have won 2nd in the past, and they've actually won it also in the past, won 1st place, and that is Steve Sparks, Ray Reich, David Lobengeyer, and Presley Darnell from the DA's office. They took 2nd place this year. They don't get the cup for it, but they get announced in court. Maybe next year, right? Okay, this year, and we actually, this tournament was held October 3rd, and presentation is a little bit later than normal, but the group that we have that won it this year is such a hard-working group, we had to schedule their work time around the presentation. And this year they are from Precinct 4. First place this year went to Steve Townsend, Rodney Apodaca, Pat Howell, and Mike Hardy. If y'all will come up, I'll give you present the trophy.
I think J.D. hired a ringer.
No, they're all county employees. The cream rises to the top. What can I say?
That's not all that rises to the top.
Y'all need to come up here so they can take pictures. Yes. They're going to take...
Townsend, we're going to make you play left-handed next year. Yeah, they're not going to all fit in that little...
Pat, you could have smiled. Someone needs to say something.
Well, I want to thank really the tournament committee. They did a really good job. There's a lot of work involved. I happen to know that from personal experience, and I really appreciate all the sponsors, but especially that group, mentioned him too, that they put in a lot of time, very unselfish, for our benefit, for a nice day of golf. So thanks to them, really, and thank you.
Thank y'all. And again, it is a lot of work, and we do appreciate everybody's hard work in going through that. So at this time, we will do our traditional first Tuesday employee recognition, and as I read your name or something that sounds like your name, please stand up. We'll do the 5 years, and then we'll so stand up and remain standing until we get everybody done, and then we'll recognize you as a group. First is Paul Benavides from Elections. Salvador Corolla, CSCD. Dedmond Davis, Sheriff Booking. Sandra Elias, Juvenile Services. Lori Gonzalez, CSCD. Stephen Green, Elections. Marcel Jackson, Sheriff Confinement. Renee Contact, District Clerk's Office. Aubrey Newton, Sheriff Confinement. Elton Roberts, CSCD. Jeffrey Tyndall, Sheriff South Patrol. And Tamala Young, CSCD. These are our 5-year employees. Let's give them a thank y'all. Now for our 10-year employees. Melissa Barnes, Tax Office. Letitia Booker, Public Health. Mary DeSantiago, Justice of the Peace, Precinct 1. Rufus Dill, Medical Examiner's Office. Oliver Evans, Information Technology. Kenneth Forge, Facilities Management. Edward Gentry, Information Technology. Rhonda Hopkins, Domestic Relations. Sonia Jones, Public Health. Ricardo Marquez, Juvenile Services. Sandra Powell, Criminal Court Support. Sharon Samuels, Human Services. Riley Shaw, District Attorney's Office. Huford Tom, Sheriff Confinement. Anthea Washington, Juvenile Services. These are our 10-year employees. Let's give it a thank you all very much. Now for our 15-year employees. William Bailey, Medical Examiner's Office. Jane Barbie, Facilities Management. Justice Terry Livingston, Second Court of Appeals. Things are popping over there this morning, I'm imagining. Brian McElroy, Information Technology. Mark Mullen, Sheriff Booking. Nan Parker, Tax Office. Kyle Surgan, Sheriff Courts. I didn't do too well on that last name, did I? Thanks. Janine Sochal. Yeah, I didn't do too well on that one either, did I? Auditor's Office. I don't know that one. Patrick Sperlin, Transportation Services. Patricia Stewart, Community Development. Veronica Ibarra, Public Health. These are our 15-year employees. Start rotating these pronunciations on the first ones. Now we have our 20-year employees, and for each one of them, we ask them to stand individually and have an opportunity to say a few things about them. December, I guess everybody's kind of caught up in the holiday spirit and having parties, and we don't hire very many people. We only have 4 this month, and I think that has to be the record low as far as the number of folks that are celebrating the 20. In this particular instance, we have 20-year, 2 20-year, a 30, and a 35-year employee. Our first 20-year employee is Bobby Delamar with Sheriff Confinement Area. Bobby started off in the confinement area in Belknap and then moved over to the correction center, is now a watch commander. When I asked him about a more memorable moment, he said, the first day I was in the office, they didn't really, they just kind of wanted me to watch things, and so they had me back in the office with the little clear glass window. And he said, I looked out the window, and all of a sudden a fight broke loose. And, everybody was going around trying to get everybody broke up, and he said, I just never will forget that particular day. When I asked him what he liked most, he said, it really is a great place to work. It's a steady job and security and the benefits. And he said, but then again, as many, many folks have said in the past, the people are what really make the difference. The family atmosphere, the opportunity to get to know one another, to help one another out. And I tell you what, Bobby, we appreciate very much the 20 years you've given to Tarrant County. Thank you. Next is Sergio Gutierrez, Sheriff Labor Detail. Sergio began in the Sheriff's Department in the jail and then moved over into the work release area. Then went into the narcotics and high-risk warrants area and spent some time there. Was also in the patrol area and is now in the labor detail. When I asked him about the more memorable moments, he went back to his days in warrants and in patrol and said, they were never dull. You just, and you could just hear the laugh and sometimes just, what he said was there were some that were very funny, but there were other situations where he said, I just can't believe I got through those situations. And so certainly in those areas, there's got to be some danger involved with that. When I asked him what he liked most, again, it was the great opportunity that he'd had with the Sheriff's Department, the diversification, and then the people that he'd had an opportunity to work with and get to know over the years. When I asked him if there was anything else, we kind of talked about just the time with the department. He said, as long as he's been with the county, he has never called in sick, and all of his leave has been approved ahead of time. And I think that speaks real highly of you and your work ethic, and we appreciate that very much. And he said he just hopes to be here for many more years. And I'll tell you what, Sergio, we appreciate very much the 20 years you've given us. Now next is Rick O'Neill with the IT department. Where's Rick? There you go. Stand up, Rick. Rick's been with us for 30 years.
Did he start when he was 6?
Just about. Just about. It's a family tradition. It's a family tradition. Started out in the county clerk's office really as a summer job in '78 and worked as a probate clerk. Then went full-time in the fall in the marriage license department. Worked in the deed records, worked at as clerk in one of the county court at laws. Then moved over to the election area and transitioned into the election administration area in 1985. And then in 2002 went to the IT area. When I asked him about his more memorable moments, he said, Rick's not just one of these real outgoing, just bubbly type of individuals. And one time Parton had him go down to Austin and stand in for him, and he was going to have to testify before this House committee. And Rick just said, I was a little nervous about that. And we sat down there all day, and he said that there was another, I guess it was one of the clerks that was down there, and they were all waiting to testify, and it had gotten late, and she was about to get up and I think testify and ask if he would go move her van because it was parked in one of the parking garages. I was a little nervous about it. And it was one of these nice custom vans. You remember when, well, he went the wrong way and he wrecked the van. So not only did he have to go back in and explain to her that he had wrecked her van, but then he had to testify. And he said, I will never forget that particular day in my time, in my 30 years with the county. When I asked him what he liked most, again, it was the stability of the office, it was the benefits, and it was the people over the years, over the 30 years that he'd had a chance to work with. He was very thankful that Robert had given him the opportunity to work for the county. And, the O'Neill family, they're just tradition here in Tarrant County. His brother Mark is in the IT, Donna is in the DRO area. His grandfather, Jim Borman, was a district clerk. His mom worked in the ag area and then in the county clerk area. And then Connie was here in the court for many years and retired a few years ago. So it's really been a family affair for the O'Neill family. And Rick, we appreciate very much the 30 years of service you've given to Tarrant County. Next is Gerald Ray with Juvenile Services, 35 years with Juvenile Services. So it started out in as an area as a field probation officer, then went to intake and the detention center as assistant superintendent, and then became the superintendent over there. Went to the youth center and then to the JJAEP program. When I asked him about his more memorable moments, he said, he was hired by Lynn and had an opportunity to work with Judge Moore, and he said throughout that experience it was a neat and very rewarding type of an experience. He said just looking at all the changes that had happened over the years, moving from the downtown juvenile center out to where they're located now. He said, we used to have to, whenever we needed kids and whenever we got to bring them to court, we used to have to go and pick them up and then bring them back downtown. And I remember when he said that, the story that Lynn Willis told us about the fact that she lost one day, that that they got downtown and this person decided they were going to do a little escape and started running down the street, and so Lynn was chasing them in the high heels, and fortunately one of the sheriff's deputies kind of interceded and helped on that behalf. But it's just one of those things that we've changed, and I don't think today we'd ever think about just having one person go down and pick them up, put them in their car, and then bring them on down to the court. When I asked him what he liked most, again, it was the people, and it was working with those people and the insight they had to working with kids, and how much of a blessing it was to have an opportunity to work with kids and sometimes to see their lives turned around and to feel like they were making a difference in that deal. He said, when I asked him anything else, he said, I have really enjoyed doing what I do. And he said, every day when I come in, I try to give 110% to the job. And I'll tell you what, Gerald, we appreciate very much that type of a work ethic, and I think that's what makes Tarrant County such a great place to live and to work and to raise a family. And we appreciate the 35 years you've given us. Thank you very much. Refreshments, 504C3. 504C, I'm getting right into the Internal Revenue Code there. There's a little drift back every once in a while. 501C3 is a little, but you can get refreshments back here. You can't get refreshments in the IRS code. So we'll just stop for a moment and let everybody have a chance to head back that way. Go ahead and get started. You have before you the consent agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Your Honor, members of the court, we have 3 items for you this morning. The first one, we're requesting that the Commissioners' Court approve an agreement with the City of Arlington for necessary improvements within the public right-of-way within the entertainment district as defined by Arlington's ordinance number 06-117, which will include reimbursements that are listed in your court communication, and also to authorize the auditor to release these funds prior to appearing on the claims register.
Move for approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the court, a week ago to item number 2, we're requesting that the court approve the contracts between Tarrant County and the University of Texas at Arlington, and also with Safe Haven of Tarrant County, as they relate to the provision of services to the Domestic Violence Diversion Court Program.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Finally, members of the court, on item number 3, we're requesting that the court approve a memorandum of understanding between Tarrant County and Baylor All Saints Medical Centers, authorizing that organization to participate in the Section 340B of the Public Health Services Act Drug Discount Program.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion.
This will be the, second or third not-for-profit hospital in the county to
I know that we've done Texas Health.
And I would imagine we've done Cook Children's as well.
I don't know if we've done Cook Children's. We'll check on that,
Would you
though.
find out?
Yes,
I think they have the ability to do that on
They
their
do
own,
too.
and I don't think we have to.
Okay.
That's the reason why we don't see theirs,
Okay.
I believe.
I think
We'll
they
check.
did too.
Check on that.
We'll check.
Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ray, do you want to later on? Ms. Glenn?
Move to receive and file personnel agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file personnel agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. I happen to note that not only did purchasing, but also transportation manage to put all their stuff on the consent agenda today. But we will still note the fact that I believe your Razorbacks got beat. Just barely. Just barely, but, as my son said, we'll take the win however we can get it. It was a pretty good game.
I think GK could kick a 36-yard field.
He probably could.
Not for Arkansas.
The guy from Arkansas couldn't, but it was, I kind of feel like LSU, I'm going to take advantage of this because I got a feeling you'll get me in future years. LSU probably shouldn't have won that ball game, but we'll take it however we can get it. So just next time you need to make sure that all of his items are not on the consent agenda immediately. Well, wait a minute. We don't know that. We'll talk about this.
Only if they win.
That's right. I was fixing to say if LSU wins, we don't want them on the consent. But if otherwise, we need to find a way that maybe we'll post them on an emergency situation.
It was not set up like that, but I'm proud of my staff.
Are there any appointments today? Appearing to be none, then we'll move on to the claims, including the addendum.
Move approval of the claims, including the addendum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims, including the addendum. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items, Mr. Maynes?
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, we have one item that we'd like to brief you on this morning. This is item A. It's the H1N1 influenza update. Ms. Sawyer Caldwell is here to address the court at this time.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Little fresh news about H1N1. I wanted to recap right quick, though, the numbers that we have seen at our events, and we've actually got a slide to break it down. because we had so many strings attached to our vaccine when we first got it. We did our first event on October 30th at Birdville, served 660 people, and it was restricted just to pregnant women and high-risk kids 18 and under. Then on November 19th, we went to the Resource Connection. That allowed, at that time, any kids that were 24 and less in, and then high-risk adults. We saw 2186. Had the very same requirements in the Arlington Convention Center. We did 1368. We were battling Thanksgiving week, so I don't know if that had something to do with it, but we did see a few less people there. And we have on December 9th our next event scheduled at TCC Northwest Campus. I'd like to also point out we've been, I couldn't give the numbers for yesterday because they didn't come in quick enough, but in our 7 public health centers we've averaged about 1655 a day. It's across the 7 public health centers. And that's with those requirements of high-risk adults and 24 and less anybody. Okay? That's the picture as it has been. The picture is now changing. We feel that we have finally broken the logjam on vaccine availability, and so effective today, we are now planning to serve the general public.
Good.
And yes, we're very happy because it's very hard to tell somebody who's 75 that they can't have a flu shot when they're used to getting one being top priority usually. So today we will be open to the general public in all the 7 health centers. And then in my next slide we show
Are we getting forgiveness rather than permission?
No, actually, that's a good question. That's a good question, Commissioner Brooks. Actually, the CDC set the targets for vaccine when vaccine was in short supply. We no longer feel our vaccine is in short supply, so we want to move it out as quick as we can, and especially before people start traveling a lot for Christmas. Because even though we've had a little downturn in our number of cases here, in other parts of the United States, it's kicking up pretty good. So we might as well have as many people protected as possible when they start moving around.
So one of the things we might say is that because there is going to be so much traveling back and forth, we might encourage somebody, if they are going to be traveling over the holidays, to go ahead and get their vaccine.
Exactly.
Now, at these locations, is this just the H1N1?
This is just the H1N1. That is all we're doing
Can't
there.
get the seasonal flu.
Not the seasonal flu. We do have the seasonal flu left at the 7 public health centers, and we've probably only got about 1,000 doses left across the area.
How many doses of the H1N1 do we have right now?
Well, we have about 24,000 doses.
Okay.
So it's bits and pieces. We've got the nasal, which of course is good for anybody who is 2 years to 49 with no health problems. And then we've got injectable as well. So, and we'll have both of those in these locations. These locations will actually open up on Thursday, December 3rd, and the hours that we've set will be from 10 in the morning to 7 in the evening, and they'll run standard from Tuesday to Saturday each week. And that should cover pretty good the waterfront, with the 7 public health centers open 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, and then 10 to 7 Tuesday through Saturday.
And again, no charge?
No charge anywhere for the vaccine.
You have how many doses left?
We have about 24,000. I didn't do any subtracting yesterday, to tell you the truth, but it's ballpark that. And we received 11,000 doses yesterday, so it's coming in pretty good now. Okay. I would also just like to mention that a couple of other things that caused us to know that it was time to open to the general public is that at the the Birdville Coliseum, we had a ton of pregnant women. Everybody was scrambling to get the vaccine. When we opened at Resource in Arlington, we had hardly any pregnant women. So that's showing us that the OB docs are getting the vaccine and giving it to the ladies, and so they don't need to come to an event. We also, even in Arlington, saw that the pediatric doses are breaking through pretty good as well, because we had parents try to come in and get the vaccine, and we'd say, well, what about your children? They say they've already been done.
Okay.
So hopefully, we're on the right track here. We do have scheduled also for Tarrant County Law Enforcement, we've worked with them to schedule different dates throughout this week, and ongoing, of course, they can go to any of these locations as well.
So you say we're going to start serving the general public?
Today.
Today?
Yes, sir.
Today.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So we don't want to quibble about what risk category they're in when we've got enough vaccine sitting on the shelves. All righty?
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
And no appointment is necessary?
That's correct.
That's all we have at this time, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. The Commissioners Court will now recess open session and proceed to closed session to discuss items exempted under Sections 551.071.
Something a little tricky on one of them. Pay attention to it. Hog liver, right? A little outside the norm.
I will return from the closed session and now hear the following matter.
Thank you, Your Honor. Under item C1 in the District Attorney's Office, we're requesting authorization of expert fees in the amount of $8,000 to be set aside from the self-insurance fund to hire some experts in this case.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, with regard to the second item, we're requesting authorization to retain outside counsel Lynn, Pham, and Ross with the amount of $12,000 to be set aside from the self-insurance fund. This is to be for outside counsel with the amount per hour not to exceed $225 per hour. And we're requesting authorization that the county administrator sign a letter of engagement and it then be received and filed in the court in the future. We want to proceed with this as quickly as we can. The letter of engagement is not yet here yet.
So move.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
There being no further business, we're adjourned. Okay.